Here it is, the Settlers of Catan. Catan. Socialist monopoly. Whatever the term is for it, you've definitely heard about this phenomenon that's been taking the world by storm. You just look at those familiar numbers, the hexes, and that darn gray robber, and you're like, oh yeah, that's Catan. And here at Shelfside, we played this game so many times in high school, thought we swore it off for good, branched out to more complicated games. Oh my god, it's heavy. Yeah, these guys. Yeah. And now we decided to come back to Catan to take another look. And what did we find? Well, there's clearly a lot of fantastic first impressions on this Island Settlers game. Also, who would have thought such a theme would be so popular? Anyways, it's just immediately clear why so many people love this game. Right off the bat, the components look great, the insert is phenomenal, and they've done such a great job of making the rulebook so easy to understand. You just feel so comfortable having this game that looks like you could teach it to anyone and for them not to be overwhelmed. Oh yeah, and of course while playing the game there's a lot of feel-good, elegant parts. All you have to do on your turn is chuck the dice, trade if you want to, and then build if you want to. And if a 7 is rolled, which is pretty darn likely, the players are forced to interact with each other with the robber. They'll do that fun dance of picking cards randomly from each other, but this also helps encourage people to spend resources before they're stolen. Catan also has a really nice progression where any building you do will end up helping your colony. And as you do so, you're going to start to see way more resources just flowing into your hand, which feels great. Once the players have expanded and the board crowds up, the game starts to cinch to a close in an exciting race. You see, the buyable development cards stack on top of the dice rolling to make the game even more unpredictable. Yeah, and then there's some cards that literally just give you points. So when the late game rolls around, you gotta be careful as someone could just come out of nowhere with a bunch of points. Another fun card from this deck is the Knight, which moves the robber, but most importantly, lets players work towards the easy goal of having the largest army. And then there's this simple and fun 4-point swing as players steal this objective from one another. Like, if we were to give Catan a proper Shelfside review treatment, we would have to give it a really high recommender score. While it's not the most nuanced in terms of decision making, not the most thematically gripping, and certainly not that easy to learn compared to its competition, it's amazing for what it is. Yeah, Catan really does hold up as a perfect gateway game to get people interested in the hobby with tons of ways to interact with your friends. You can go really cutthroat and constantly build up your army to steal resources from others and you can still get points. Or you can just play really nicely with everyone, make some great trade deals, and then just quietly expand your own network to also get points. You can't rely on being too cutthroat or too peaceful if you want to win consistently, but if you really want to, you can just hunker down on those strategies and still have a really fun time. Also, no one ever gets eliminated in Catan. So there won't be any rampant downtime when you wait for 2 other people to finish the game while you just sit on the sidelines feeling like you've been cheated out of hanging out with your friends. And speaking of downtime, Catan just handles this really well. One person rolls, everyone else watches, since if they don't, they might not even get resources. Rarely do we find a game where you're still really excited for other people's turns, even when you don't really know how the game works. An issue that I've come across in introducing board games is keeping newcomers focused right away. And Catan has such great design to essentially ensure that. So this is kind of weird to point out because Catan is pretty elegant, but there's actually a little bit of a lot of mechanics going on in this gateway game. So first, there's the simple trading, and those coming from Monopoly will be used to this. But then there's also growing your economic engine, managing the map, and a fair amount of politics when 3 of you gang up on one guy who's been getting way too lucky. A good comparison for Catan is like a light sampler at a restaurant that just gently holds your hand into this realm of board games. It doesn't stuff your stomach, and it still gives you a good digestible amount of fun variety. So why did I swear it off so many years ago in high school? Why are there actually quite a bit of people that don't like this game? Well, a popular complaint about Catan is that it's too light of a game. And by that I mean that it doesn't have enough interesting decisions, especially for not being a party game. To that type of thinking, and to my high school self, I would say, yeah, that's right. That's actually kind of like the great thing about Catan, so that it's not too crazy for newcomers who are already surprised by this theme and this point system. They have to get like 10 victory points to something to win. So now you don't have to think too hard about decisions. You can just hang out with your buddies, try to rip each other off, and chuck the dice. Oh yeah, then actually talking about this trading thing in Catan, yeah, you kind of have to do that if you want to win more consistently. See, you can't be the player who just tunnels in on the gameplay, grumbles about some dice rolls, and forgets about the others at the table. You need to wheel and deal to make the most out of your bad hand if the dice rolls end up sucking. If you do end up ahead by some nice dice rolls, the game can encourage others to steal your hard-earned stuff, and I've been guilty myself of being salty about that. So I've been talking a lot about dice chucking, and a popular complaint about Catan is that it's just too reliant on luck. There's some who just cringe that you have to roll the same 2 dice to generate any resource. But some really enjoy this, especially if they grew up liking roll and move games. The cool thing about Catan is that for a game with actual mechanics and is not a party game, it doesn't run that long. So with people constantly getting points, even if you do learn that rolling dice or trading or building on a map is not your thing, you won't really feel like you're wasting too much time. So yeah, Catan is such a well-produced and elegant game that, heck, you can't really go wrong having a copy on hand at home. Even when I'm at the stage with so many other options to choose from, I still couldn't resist buying another copy of Catan. The fact of the matter is that I still have friends who are interested in Catan, so I can offer them an amazing gateway experience that they're comfortable with because they've heard about it from the mainstream. I really can just shut off my brain and introduce it for like the 20th time and just enjoy seeing my friends learn about all these cool mechanics. I mean, hell, after all, Catan is called the perfect social game. I mean, I'm not sure if I fully agree with that, but it's sure as hell perfect for a lot of situations I do find myself in. If you're just finding out about this hobby of board games, the answer to buy is yes, and chances are you've probably already played Catan by now. Either way, this is a clean gateway to other board games as it'll teach you what you like and don't like in games. Does the stealing from other people's hands just make you giddy and laugh? Well, try more cutthroat games. But maybe that's just a little too much for you and you just like to be peaceful and make your own thing. Well, maybe try less abrasive stuff. And maybe you just really don't like dice and games, and now you know you don't like dice and games. Shoot. Uh-oh. Well, let me know if I missed anything about Catan. Man, just like seeing this game with all these components sprawled out in front of me is kind of like coming back home. As always, shout out to our amazing patrons. We have John S., Manuel G., Brian C., Clifford H., and Aaron W. And we have 2 mad lads of cardboard. We have ZL and Jeff L. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. To the rest of you guys out there, remember to sub to our channel if you like Shelfside, can't get enough of our stuff.